Hey guys, the Strong Boys 19 here. This is going to be a rambling type of personal interaction with you guys, just to say how I've been feeling and what I really thought about 2023 as a whole. By the time you're going to be watching this, it's uploaded in December. For the moment that I've been recording this video, it's actually a month previously. So that's going to take some people to get that process in their heads. So I've recorded this in the beginning of November, but I've decided to upload it in December because obviously November has been past while you're watching this video. There's been lots of things going on around me, and I thought it would be my own random choice to tell you guys what I really think about how I've been feeling and want to address these different things throughout the finale moments of this year. 2023 has been nothing but a very maddening and chaotic year. I will mention different things throughout this long ramble. There's going to be more than a few moments where I'm going to pause and to think heavily about what's been going on. I don't want to go into that side throughout this year so much because this is the point now that I want to talk about the things that have been the positives and the negatives. You guys knew how I felt about last year, 2022, but for those of you who have not seen the video, go and watch it because 2022 has been one of my most favourite years. It has been actually my favourite year for a really long time. Whereas with this one, it's obviously going to be the polar opposite. If you want to share what you think about how you felt and what you've been experiencing throughout this year, do feel free to address it in the comments down below. The destruction of mentality to the overall reactions of who we are, from social media to the state in these multiplying news reports, it's been chaotic. Not obviously in a good way, because I did have a bigger thinking process. This year has been totally different to what I would have expected it to be. 2023 is a rise around negativity through false allegations to bands or musicians, like I've mentioned about the whole Rammstein controversy, to other false accusations around similar subject matters, and accusing anybody without any proof and to have any definition to tell anyone that they are speaking the truth when they're actually wrong and incorrect, to cancel culture to be incredibly broken, and it's reached its breaking point, to be honest with you. So many different reactions, overreacting over some things that takes things way too far. Even with different things that are absolutely not so over the top, that they just take things way too seriously. It's not one of these moments when I would just want to see at all this same continuation, the same looping way of reactions, and this behavior has been, uncompromising, that I just literally cannot stand it anymore. Sorry about these really annoying changes. when I move around with my hands, and just to try my best to interact with you as possible. The positives that I want to say, for me, in this direction, I've been very productive still. It has been a progression into doing something that I really want to do, and that is the most important thing. And the most important thing to me is to think about music and care about it. I've been developing different ideas for music, and it made me realize even more that I want to develop material throughout whatever kind of experience or emotions that I've been expressing, and put it into music. That's another really successful thing with many greats, developing music around creating a sound that really means something more than just a sound of music. It's like whatever you want to cast something out, but for hearing musical notes through vocals to guitars or whatever instrument that you play, you take that inspiration and glue it with the instruments that you play. I love doing that kind of thing, because once you have more of these pieces, and if you have an idea, record it on your mobile, not the whole composition, but to build something that sounds good to you. And if you're very satisfied with it, go back to it and build it bigger. I love doing that thing, and I'm sure many musicians have been doing that same thing. I'm just speaking this point out because there could be anyone who would want to experience it for themselves. If they are a new musician in whatever side of music they want to play, whatever they want to write, whatever they want to share. I've been developing different kinds of behaviors of the way the human and the sound of music connects together at the same time. You know, if I'm in a random mood, if there's a glowing light bulb of inspiration, I pick up my guitar and play something to fit in the mood. And whatever comes out, if it's something that I like a lot, I develop it. Another great thing that has been happening, I've been expanding my music taste. Besides that, I have been listening to many different kinds of new albums from this year. The ones that I've not reviewed, I've been buying. I've been getting into more different artists and bands. Music is not only the best thing in the world, it's not only just a separate language, but it has been developing into a gigantic and widening open world of its own. I like to think of music as a world of its own, besides calling it the best thing in the world, the best hobby, the best job. But just like with music, movies has another distinctive part of artistry and connection. I've been watching different films and listened to different kinds of soundtracks. Music soundtracks, like film scores to movies, has been a new favourite thing. Ever since that, I have just been purchasing the soundtrack to my favourite movie, The Silence of the Lambs, which is a phenomenal soundtrack that I went back to Taxi Driver and played The Godfather soundtrack and also Blade Runner's soundtrack. Music is not only a huge worldwide phenomenon with bands and artists, but I think film scores, soundtracks to films, have their own distinction. When I listen to the sound of this music, of The Silence of the Lambs, it immediately comes up in my head that there's another reason why I love music. Whenever I listen to this soundtrack, or any soundtrack that I love, it takes me way back to my fascination with music in a different spotlight. The different spotlight to call it a separate dimension in the way I think about music, with separate tones. It's not just about distortion, it's not just about operatic singing, it's not just about melodic singing, but film scores do hold together with me as one of the best things ever. Film scores do develop something that I do love to listen to. My collection has been expanding, getting into many different kinds of genres, and besides new albums, I've been revisiting bands, like I've been playing Slipknot constantly again. Like when I did review All Hope Is Gone and did the ranking of the discography, and with the Maybe Kill Repeat origin to the very early story of Slipknot's history, it was something really cool and inspiring to me. And other kinds of music that I've been coming back to and to love even more. Bark Psychosis with Hex. I've heard from many people that's been known as one of the greatest albums of all time in the 90s, and it's also known as one of the pioneering ones to grow the post-rock genre. And I absolutely cherish that record. I've listened to the second album, which I really like a lot as well, but Hex, I did not expect it to be so laid back, gentle, but yet mysterious and full of its own artistic world. Post-rock is a genre I want to come back to, dive into, and to get into different bands in that style. Besides bands like with Slint and Swans. If there are any post-rock bands that you guys want me to discover, please address it in the comments. And the overall progression into the productivity of making music and to be inspired is still connecting with me. And I don't think there will ever be a moment when the connection is going to go into its fullest completion, because if I'm connected to a band's music or something that I love to make or to hear, I think this connection is going to be an ongoing infinite process. It's an infinite process that goes on, that it never ends. It's a journey that never ends. I think that's the best way to describe it. With the negativity that I've been going through, I think it happened around the beginning of summer to more than a couple of months later. I know that it's personal for me, but thankfully I didn't go into my worst ever state of emotions like I did address from what I thought about 2021. That was the worst year ever for me, mentally and emotionally and almost physically. I have been experiencing nothing but agonizing stress about what's been going on that led into a near exhaustion and to feel almost completely burnt out. completely, nearly burnt out. It got so bad that I had severe headaches. I had to just lie down, and I wanted to listen to music to let the anger come out through the speakers instead of me wanting to hear my anger, my frustration. And the music that really does comfort me to how I've been feeling was something better to hear than to hear myself address anything but anger, because I didn't want to go into a worsening state with more stress and to get sick and tired of everything. Whenever I feel so pissed off, I sometimes would just want to not think about it a lot and to get out of the house, listen to music with my Raycon Bluetooth earbuds, and listen to music on Spotify to let the music speak for itself. And the band I've been listening to constantly to cope with these emotions, personally, is Deftones. And I'm not sure if it's up here or not. Yes, here it is. I've been listening to Saturday Night Wrist. I've been listening to this album so many times, because when you listen to something that does sound personal, through a band's experience behind the scenes to the execution of the music, of what it really speaks about, I've listened to tracks on this album that I can relate to. Tracks like with Cherry Waves and Beware, Hole in the Earth. There are some phenomenal stuff around this album. I know I've made a video about this album, by the way, but I want to do a proper review on this. I know I'm going to a different topic very quickly than to carry on what I've been saying, but this record is one of the masterpieces. When I listen to Saturday Night Wrist, like I said, it does speak for itself with its own lyrical content, that I do agree and accept what's been told. From the sound of Chino's vocals to the look of the lyrics, the inspiration behind it. Besides Deftones letting out the aggression, like the sound of the self-titled album, I wanted to hear other kinds of music to take me into a much better comforting space, like DJ Shadow's Introducing. When I listen to the instrumental side around everything on this album, it takes me into a much better mindset. It eases itself to its own world, its own imagination. That's another beautiful thing about music. I know I've mentioned this album numerous times now, but not only this is one of my most favourite albums of all time and one of my top favourite debut albums of all time, but there's the power behind music like this when you feel absorbed, to be comfortable and to get lost to another world. So despite the negativity through these emotions, let's just say from what had happened, I would say the flames were burning and rising up heavily, destroying something of the things that were great. Things were great at first, but then the inevitable conclusion into some things that I had been connected to and loved with for a long time now has been drastically changing. I think the flames got so severe that it's really hard to cope with it. Thankfully, from that aftermath, I decided to carry on and pick up the pieces and to crack on, because I'm not one of these people that just wants to deal with a lot of this repetition of negatives, as I want to let it carry on, and then I don't want to go back to reflect on what happened that was bad, because I want to go into a new direction when I can just feel like I'm being myself once again. Let the bad things that have happened be the past in the future. Don't go back there. It's okay to reflect, but if it's something that's really bad, it's not worth coming back to. So that's what I have been doing lately. The bad things happened. I've decided to, pick up these pieces that were bad and want these things to be glued back together. It's quite strange for me to describe things like this, but since it has been personal, as I said, from what I've been doing, I don't want to reveal everything that has been experiencing and the way it was from me to you guys, because what happened. But I will say this, guys, despite these things, I really want to, get back up at my own feet. I am moving forward to still be the personal, inspired and dedicated musician that I am, and to let that be an important thing for me. Self-belief is coming back. And with the choice that I want to do, with the path of the music that I've been doing, there are 3 things that I always think about: progression, determination, and consistency. Those are the 3 goals that I will be thinking about so many times, and I will never stop that. Roscoe's barking away, making a racket outside. And with that being said, guys, that's all I would like to address. I know it's a long ramble, like I've said at the start, but I feel like now it's being better to address these things, get it out of my system. Let me know what you guys think about these types of things I've said. Put it in the comments, and if you want to share what your experiences were throughout this year, do the same thing. Address it. I am determined and will be hoping for the better for me and with the people who I'm with, that 2024 is going to be a changing for the better year. I know that the world is absolutely chaos and full of disgusting mindsets of people through this cesspool of violence. It's been destructive and sickening to look and hear, but look after yourselves as I will look after myself. Don't let these things that have been happening affect you personally. I know there are worse things, but at the end of the day, we all have lives of our own, and we need to stand up and do what we can, do our best. So yeah, 2023 is pretty much a mixed bag. That's all I would say around that. And it is great for me to reflect around this whole thing. The positives were there, the negatives were there, but it's a moment at the same time that I want to think about acceptance. Accepting the state of what's been going on in my world, but I am ready to turn the page. Turn the page instead of creating something new. And I do want to continue to build many new things. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.